Hi, I'm John Mallos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Monday morning. Today it's on the air, off the presses. I have a news anchor in the studio today. A whole host of topics on the table, including Congressman Devin Nunes. We'll also talk about Scott Pelley out at CBS Evening News. 436 Me TV Option 11. Dr. Thomas Casagrande, our sponsor today.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
Back here on the program on a Monday morning. Glad you're here and hope you had a wonderful weekend, and certainly a lot to talk about, not only on this day on this program, but certainly the rest of the week here on Connect with Me on Me TV Fresno. A little quick synopsis on what's going to happen for tomorrow. Tomorrow we have the president and the CEO of West Care, California in the house tomorrow for the first time. Of course, he was great friends and good friends with John Wallace, my friend, the former news anchor at obviously at Channel 47, Channel 30 recently, and sadly he passed away. He was a member here at Ventura TV. He was kind of the voice and the face of Ventura Broadcasting in the very beginning before I came here. So we'll talk to him about John Wallace, who was on the board of directors at West Care. And then on Wednesday, we got a special program talking about reconciliation between the Armenians and the Turks in light of course, what has gone on with the controversy back and forth as to whether or not to recognize the Armenian genocide. Interesting program on Wednesday. So for now, you're watching us live on Comcast, channel 375, as usual, Monday through Friday, 10 to 11 o'clock in the morning. It is a call-in program. You don't have Comcast cable, you don't have to worry. 43.6 and 13.1 over-the-air broadcast with one of those digital television antennas. You can buy them anywhere in the city, including here at Ventura TV. Later in the day, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 13.6 YouTube, 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. After that, it's YouTube forever. And before I move on, just got to say, as we look forward to Wednesday night Game 3 of the NBA Finals, it's amazing what a different team and what a different inspiration there is within the Warrior organization this year as opposed to last year. With the addition of Kevin Durant, they lead 2-0, same position they were in last year at this time. However, they have a healthy Stephen Curry, and they have the addition of Kevin Durant. Could make all the difference in the world. I look forward to that. What a game it was last night. One of the best games I've ever witnessed in the NBA Finals. Anyway, let's move on to today's program, talking about Congressman Devin Nunes. In the beginning here, let's put his photo up on the screen. The embattled congressman from Tulare. Haven't heard much from him since about April the 6th. Since he recused himself from the Russian investigation. Of course, he is the chair of the House Intelligence Committee. However, recently, it was announced by one man here in Fresno County, works at the DA's office. His name is Andrew Jans. He is going to be challenging Devin Nunes for his seat in Tulare. However, Devin has fought off a lot of challengers the last few years. Andrew Jans is one man who is hoping for a major upset.
Andrew Jans is hoping to do what 8 other Democratic challengers have been unable to do. Unseat Republican Devin Nunes to represent the Valley in Washington, D.C. GV Wire spoke with the Fresno County prosecutor on his thoughts about the Trump investigation, health care, and what it takes to be an effective representative. We started with Nunes' recusal as head of a congressional committee investigating Trump's ties to Russia.
Well, we saw as an example the fact that he is under an ethics investigation regarding misusing classified information in his famous trip to the White House in the middle of the night. He's recused himself. He is still reviewing classified information related to the Russia investigation. We think that's completely inappropriate.
Now, when he recused himself, did he fully recuse himself from the investigation or just as the head of the investigation?
Our concern is that he has a pipeline to the White House and he has close ties to people like Flynn and the president himself being on his transition team. So as we know, the transition team, the administration, and the Trump campaign are subjects of the investigation. We think that he needs to fully recuse himself.
We moved on to the Nunes vote to repeal Obamacare.
What I want to do if I'm elected to Congress is to protect pre-existing conditions. They need to continue to be covered, and I think that's very popular with folks here locally and across the country. We see that here locally that up to 55,000 of the congressman's constituents could lose their health care coverage based on this plan. 12,000 children could lose their plan, and we think that that's completely unacceptable.
And there's, of course, a price tag associated with it. The main criticism of the Obamacare plan is it's not affordable for a lot of people. How would you fix that problem?
I've been saying this for a while. The Affordable Care Act is not perfect. We need to take a look at what we can improve upon in the bill. We don't need to eliminate it in its entirety and start from scratch. There are areas that we could potentially have some cost savings, and those are the types of things that I want to look at.
I asked Jans about the appointment of Robert Mueller as special counsel in the Trump-Russia probe.
And we're really taking a wait-and-see approach. We want to make sure that there's a thorough investigation. Nobody here, nobody in my campaign is calling for impeachment or anything like that. We just want to make sure that the investigation is thorough, fair, and just, and that's our position on the issue.
Finally, Jans talked about why he thinks he'll be a more effective congressman than Nunes.
It's my understanding that Congressman Nunes has been trying to work to secure better water rights for our region. And it's my understanding that his brashness in working with others statewide, in particular folks like Senator Feinstein, has made it difficult for him to sort of secure favorable policies and legislation that would benefit our area. As an outsider, as a person who's not a career politician, I think that I can work well with folks from all political spectrums. That's Democrats, Republicans, and Independents. And in fact, our campaign is made up with people from different political parties, people from different political views, and that's going to be my approach to this election over the next 16, 17 months.
GV Wire reached out to Congressman Nunes for an interview, but his office declined. David Taub, GV Wire.
Live in our studio right now is Evan Onstot. He is the news anchor and the host of Sunday Morning Matters on KSEE 24. He is one man who has actually interviewed Devin Nunes. That's right. So we'll talk to him about his interview. In fact, he interviewed him yesterday on that great program that airs Sunday morning it's on tape, but it's at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 to 8:30 on KSEE 24. So you're welcome to chime in here on the program, 436 MeTV, option 11. A lot more to talk about besides Devin Nunes. Believe me, there's a lot on the plate today. So call in and weigh in. Back in just a moment. At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, will help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Back here on the program, 436 MeTV, option 11. If you want to call in, we have an open phone line. Evan Onstot is here again from KSEE 24. Good to see you this morning.
Good to see you,
How
John.
are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for coming in. I personally enjoy having you here. I like your program. And so how's the Sunday Morning Matters going? How's that
It's
show
going great. When we started that a while back, I don't know if we knew exactly what we were getting into or if it would take off at all. And I mean, it's not a household name by any means, but people who pay attention to politics here, I think that they watch it. We hear a lot of our guests that say, "Hey, I saw you on that program," and it's growing, and we're really proud of it. And we're looking forward to always trying to make it better. But yeah, it's been a good place and to discuss real issues and to get some of the big names in the news and get them on and timely, and it's been fun.
Yeah. So I see yesterday on the program, you interviewed Devin Nunes on tape. He came in on a Tuesday, I
He
believe.
did. He came in earlier in the week.
Right, right. What was his, because I know that, I'll delve into the topics that you talked to him about, but just getting a read from him, just his body language and everything else when he came in, did he seem like he was an embattled congressman, or did he seem upbeat?
Yeah, I mean, and I talked to him also when he was when he was a national figure, when his name was on the headlines of all the national publications, all the news. I talked to him then as well. Talked to him this past week. Talked to him before all that. He's always the same. For him, it seems like, it just hits him and just slides right off of him. To be honest, I'm sure he feels the pressure. I'm sure he doesn't like being in the spotlight the way he does. He likes to be underneath the spotlight. But no, he doesn't seem to be perturbed about too much. He sees, I think there's frustration there right now for him, because I think he looks at everything that's happening and the Russia investigation and now the separate counsel, even though he publicly said, I approve of Robert Mueller and this is the right decision at the right time. But he still says this is all spurned on fake news. This is bad journalism, over the top, to use the president's words, a witch hunt. I think he feels like priorities are wrong here for much of the conversation. And so he wants to talk about the issues that are important to him and that he thinks are important to the Valley, and he doesn't like talking about the other stuff. But he'll answer the questions, I mean, and he comes in and if I ask him about Russia, if I ask him about, he'll flat out say it. So I don't feel like he's obstructionist talking to me. I know that there are criticisms of him, that he's not as available within his district to talk to maybe some of his critics in some of these town halls that they hold. I say town halls, they're really meetings in which they invite him knowing that he's probably not going to show up, and then they use that. So he's an interesting guy, and I appreciate the fact that he's been accessible to us.
Mm-hmm. All right, roll a video gallery of Devin Nunes. And it's just a video gallery of him in Congress. He's the chair of the House Intelligence Committee. What did you get a sense from him? I know you talked to him about health care, and he doesn't really want to talk about all these other topics that are on the burner right now, that are headlines, nationally, with the unmasking, with the Russian probe, with James Comey testifying. In fact, did he bring up James Comey testifying at all?
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. The interesting thing with the healthcare, and I think it's so indicative of kind of the conversations that we have in America right now, where two people can look at the exact same thing and see two very different things.
That's America.
So you look at healthcare with this the CBO score that came out for the House GOP plan, the American Health Care Act that they passed. Devin Nunes voted for. Every California Republican voted for. David Valadao, for example. The CBO score comes out and it says, these millions of people, like 24, like
23 million.
23 million.
Yeah.
People are going to lose health care. It's going to be more expensive for many people, as far as especially seniors, people before the age of Medicare. That comes out. Everybody says, oh my goodness, what a terrible CBO score. The Congressional Budget Office just did in this plan and this idea. I asked Devin Nunes about it. I said, did it make you second guess your vote? And he said, no, quite the opposite. I found that CBO report to be encouraging. It proved to me that the plan will work. Because he sees, and when everybody, and the other thing, Medicaid, people go, oh man, they're pulling Medicaid from all these people. I asked Devin Nunes about that. He goes, we should pull Medicaid. It's holding people back in the Valley because he says it's like having an insurance card without actual insurance. You're not getting as good of care. This is not bringing the specialists into the Valley. You have to go to LA or San Francisco in order to see the specialists. He says these things that people see as bad things, I see as good things. And the things that people see as good things, I see as bad things. We're looking at the exact same report, and we're seeing two different things right now. But he's adamant. He is proud of that healthcare vote. He wants to change it, and he thinks these tax credits are the way to do it.
Yeah, he wants to eliminate Medicaid completely, right?
Yeah, he does. He wants to get it
off
out.
the table.
He says the sooner Medicaid goes, the better it's going to be for people in the Valley.
And where did he mention at all where these people are going to be able to afford, or how they're going to be able to afford insurance, where they're going to go for their health care?
It's going to be the credits. It's going to be
$2,000 per child.
$2,000 per child, and then I think it's for seniors right now that 50 to 65 that it's a $4,000 tax credit. I said, the Senate's talking about this now. what would you improve with this for the Senate? And he goes, well, I'd like to see that $4,000 tax credit from the age of 50 to Medicare. I'd like to see that maybe get up to $5,000. It's debatable on whether that's going to be enough. Devin Nunes believes it's going to be plenty, especially the $2,000 per child, because that is enough to be able to buy health insurance for your children. And he says, the people that say that, oh, everybody's going to get kicked off of health insurance, he says, I think that's insulting. That people think that they wouldn't use that money, those tax credits, to buy insurance for their children.
So how is the tax credit going to work? I'm not quite sure I understand it. Do you?
Down to the crossing the T's and dotting the I's.
I mean, I understand the
not
subsidies
entirely.
right now,
Sure,
but I don't quite understand how the tax credits are going to work.
I mean, and the thing is, people say, listen, it's still using government money to help these families afford health insurance.
Yeah.
That's what it still comes down to. And you can call it whatever you want. It's still, the government has to step in and help people buy insurance from private insurers.
Right.
You know, and in a lot of ways, that's what Obamacare did, and that's in a lot of ways what this could be. The mechanisms are completely different, and how it works is completely different. But Republicans.
The end result might be the same, perhaps. That's what a lot of people are saying. But the Democrats on the other side are saying no, because the subsidies actually help you pay for your monthly premium.
Yes.
Whereas at the end of the year, you get these tax credits. But I'm still not quite sure about the gritty details of it.
The big question is, if you're handed $2,000 at the end of the year with no requirement that it goes to something, do you put that money aside and do you only use that for certain, or does that go into groceries?
Do you go down to Macy's and buy?
Yeah, does that help you pay your PG&E bill for a couple months? You know what I mean?
No.
Because I mean, people are tight on a bunch of stuff, so it's gonna be interesting. I mean, I think that the Senate bill is going to look different. I think that there's going to be more assistance, financial assistance for families, because the midterms are coming up, and while Devin Nunes might feel comfortable in his district, there's been no indication that he's ever been threatened.
He doesn't.
Other congressmen do not feel so comfortable in their districts.
I was just going to ask you, how comfortable does he feel knowing that Jans is going to run against him, who doesn't seem like a very lively opponent, doesn't seem like he has a lot of energy, and doesn't seem like a guy that's really going to come out of the gate and really score a major upset?
I think Jans right now is he comes off very serious on camera. He's looser off air. So, he's new at this. So, and so, but I think he's got plenty of energy. And I think the reason he's running is because he feels passionate about it. So I don't want to say anything that maybe he's, to use the Jeb Bush low energy.
Low energy?
Yeah, no, I don't want to, I wouldn't say that at all. And
you don't want to tag him with that, huh?
He's a very nice guy too. I met him, I met his wife. And I think Devin Nunes is a nice man as well. And so I like, it's funny. I like just about everybody that comes on the program on both sides of the aisle. But Devin Nunes asked,
caller.
Does he feel pressure? I don't think so. I think he feels confident. And he told me, because I said, you want to comment on him and just in general? And he said, I would like to be multiple challengers. I think the more challengers I have, the better. It's better for democracy. It's better for, But when you get in, if you get in to challenge Devin Nunes, this is a guy that's won multiple times and has never really been threatened.
I know.
If you really poke the bear hard enough, the money and the support from the GOP will come flying in, and you better be ready for
He's got
for
how
battle.
much in the treasure trove there? About $3 million? I don't know. Who knows?
That sounds about right. I'm not sure actually.
3 or 4 million bucks, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, caller, you're on the air with Evan Onstot. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting. You see a lot of his constituents, not his constituents, his fellow congressmen going home and talking to their constituents about the new Republican health care bill. And you hear these congressmen talking about how, the average constituent would be paying into some kind of a health savings plan, in order for those rainy days when they need health care. And they say, well, you'll be paying into a savings plan, into a savings account. And it's interesting because you hear a lot of these people, like myself, would be saying, well, how can you pay into a savings account when you don't have a job, or when you can barely afford food and pay for your utility bills? So I find it quite interesting, that the Republicans will say that, well, you can afford health care but only if you can do without, let's say, your utility bill, or let's say you can do without food for a while. So I think the Republicans really haven't looked into this very much, because a lot of people in the Valley here are poor. They're, working class poor. And so for the Republicans to say, well, they can afford health care with a $2,000 tax credit, it really, it doesn't, it really doesn't, it shows a lot of not much insight into into who they're representing here in the Central Valley.
And that right there is, I think, that was actually a really well put response that you hear from a lot of people that are critics of this plan.
Yeah.
I think he really just encapsulated that in a nutshell. Is he right? I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, and it's tough to tell right there. But that's the fear, that's the frustration that you hear from a lot of people when you see this.
Yeah. But then, like you say, you have those people on the other side of the aisle that say, hey, the Affordable Care Act, which is Obamacare right now, is failing in a lot of states. In California seems to be maybe one of the few states across the nation where Obamacare seems to be flourishing to a certain extent. Maybe not flourishing, but seems to be surviving better than in other states, like someplace in the Midwest or the Southeast.
It's operating more as it was intended. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because
is that because California is more of a liberal state, and California is making it work with the Affordable Care Act?
I think so. I think the buy-in from the state has been solid, that they committed to it.
Right.
A lot of states, obviously, they did not from the very beginning, and so it didn't really have a chance. They depended entirely on federal monies in order to make that work. When the states buy in, that made it easier to succeed. But you get these health insurance companies. The reason why it's failing so much is these health insurers, when they drop out of the program, then there's less options. The prices go up, and when young people are not buying the insurance from these exchanges like it was intended to do, it was entirely dependent on healthy Americans buying insurance. And that's why they were required to do that. But when you get people who aren't doing that, then that's still going to raise the money for everybody else. That's why everybody's premiums have gone up. Everything is more. And so the criticisms that you see from the right, I think that they're wholly legitimate. But when you hear the defense from the left, they're like, well, it never had a chance to begin with because it never got the support. I also see that point of view as well.
Yeah. Caller, are you still there? Go ahead. Yes. Hello, caller?
I think, yes. I think that is what's going to happen with California during the energy crisis when they...
No, you're not. He's not there.
Regulated a lot of the public utility regulations, and when we had the energy crisis, everybody thought, well, other out-of-state utilities would come in and would bid for lower prices on selling their power to California, when in fact they all started bidding upwards. Now, I think that's same thing is going to happen in terms of healthcare. They're going to have a lot of companies coming in here, and they're going to be saying, well, this is our set price, and that's going to be it. There's not going to be really a bid for your health care, for a person's health care. There's not going to be a bidding for it. There's going to be we're going to come in here, it's going to be set, these are the prices, and that's going to be it. And then, that's going to be it all, And for the deregulation from the Republican Party, new health care, Americans are going to be just stuck with what is set in place, and now it's going to be that.
Caller, let me ask you a quick question because I got to go to break. What solution do you have for health care?
My solution would be to put back the ACA, okay, and take whatever and have it reviewed, and whatever portions of that can be fixed or need to be improved, improve upon it, because the Republicans did nothing. When all the Republicans did this year was come in and say, we're going to repeal the Obamacare, and then when they were asked, what are you going to put in its place, they had no idea what to put in its place. They simply wanted to repeal Obamacare. It seemed just out of spite, just out of party lines. They didn't care if they had a plan in place, and that's why the president's when the president tried to get it overturned or repealed, that's why it failed, because the Republicans had nothing in place.
Gotcha. Thank you, caller.
I've heard it called, it's like when that dog chases the car for 8 years. What does the dog do when he finally catches the car?
Yeah.
The Republicans finally have the car in their sights, and they're the dog going, oh, what do we do now? And so I've heard it said that, and yeah, it's not easy, this healthcare thing.
No,
as
it's not.
the president also said. Who would believe? I thought that was a funny comment.
Hey, we got to go to break. 436 MeTV option 11. Our friend Evan Onstot is here from KSEE 24. Sunday Morning Matters airs at 8 o'clock in the morning, of course, on Sunday, 8 to 8:30 on Channel 24. Back after this from Thomas Casagrande, 2020 Optometrics.
Take a look at this.
Let's play.
This is too hip for you. I'll slow down.
Let's play.
Watch all your favorite classic game shows on Buzzer TV, KBBC Digital Channel 13.7.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
I know you've been hesitant to name sources. As a journalist, I totally get that. Of course, New York Times just came out with an article naming a couple people who work there at the White House. I saw Fox News said that they independently confirmed that. Are you able to independently confirm that as well, saying that was true or a false report?
Yeah, I mean, you understand we're not going to get into sources and methods. I mean, it's, if not, who's going to ever come to our committee? But I can tell you that those reports are mostly wrong.
Mostly wrong.
I mean, this is something that I've known about for a very long time from people who were not affiliated at all with the White House or anybody there. The challenge was finding a place to be able to view this information, to be able to get my hands on this information. So I think what's in those stories is there's a lot of innuendo. There were people that probably knew about this, knew about me being there, but the fact of the matter is that doesn't make them the source of my information.
I think the overarching criticism that has been thrown at you is that you're just too close to the White House. And when they saw the New York Times article, even if it was not your original source, they're saying, oh, well, it's still people there at the White House who are helping him gain access to this information and then going back and telling the president. And they're saying he's just too close to give a fair investigation when that investigation might involve the White House. Do you understand those criticisms?
Yeah, I mean, I do, but it always goes back to then who else is going to do it? Because there's only so many, you know, at the end of the day, someone has to do it. I'm sure that all the Republicans in Congress voted for President Trump. All the Democrats voted for Hillary Clinton. I mean, that's just how it is. But at the end of the day, we're accountable to our voters. And like I said, this whole issue that we briefed the president on, that I briefed the president on, had nothing to do with Russia.
All this noise, whatever you want to call it, has it affected in any way your energy or your ability to represent your constituents here in the Valley?
Well, I think that the challenge is that it takes so much time. So, you know, we knew that this Russian investigation would take time. So one of the issues has been I was just gone for over 3 weeks from here, which is, so I've just had to work weekends, working on this investigation and keeping track with everything else. You know, which is fine, except it's, you know, my kids and wife are the ones that lose out, but that's all right. When it's the opposition party, you know, attacking me, well, of course they're going to attack me. They don't vote for me anyway. They don't support me. They don't want me to be chairman. So I think, you know, the national news media making a big deal about this day after day with stories that are basically inaccurate, and we've told them several times that that was either they were inaccurate or partially accurate. You know, day by day, I mean, you're really starting to see, you know, who are serious journalists and who are not.
You always hear about sports teams. We don't want a distraction in the locker room. Do you worry, right or wrong, whether it has anything to do with you doing anything bad? Do you think you are almost becoming a distraction at this point to what the House Intelligence Committee is trying to do?
Well, look, I think the distraction is that we have a lot of business that has to be done on the House Intelligence Committee, not just Russia. And so, you know, we are ramping up. We're bringing on extra staff to do it. And so there's no question that the House Intelligence Committee has work it has to do. But at the end of the day, there's no real way that you can just, I mean, look, this is all about the Democrats want an independent commission. They don't want this to be investigated by members of Congress or the Senate. They want an independent commission, which is basically code word for just something that lasts a long time and they can continue to make political hay of it. And I mean, that's what this is all about. It's a tough job, and there's tough work that has to be done. And you know, I think there's nobody better than me right now to be doing it.
Okay, so Devin Nunes, obviously doing the interview there with Evan Onstot prior to recusing himself from the Russian investigation on the House Intelligence Committee. He recused himself, I believe, on April the 6th or 7th, somewhere in that time frame. So at that time period, you interviewed him during his visit here to Fresno. I think on the same day he appeared at Tornino's for a meeting there.
And there was a big protest outside.
Huge protest outside. So what was his demeanor this past week as opposed to when you interviewed him then? It hasn't changed?
It really hasn't. I mean, not that much. And that, when I talked to him then, we had NBC, you know, I work for the NBC affiliate. We had NBC, MSNBC, I think CNN used portions of that interview in their programs. And that's how hot of a name and a topic he was at that time when we spoke. But no, I mean, and we talked for probably like 15 minutes at that point. This last time we talked for about 15 to 20 minutes. And so he's a pretty cool customer. I think he feels he's very convicted in what he's doing, and I know he thinks he certainly is doing the right thing, how he's handling everything. And so the way he's looking at it is, why get bothered too much by it?
How do you think he views this? Because I was intrigued last week by a couple of articles in the paper about Nunes. I'm sure you read them. This one where the LA Times, obtained some cell phone video from various people at a fundraiser that Devin Nunes had in Tulare. So he talked about the unmasking, and he talked about why the Republicans, or the Democrats, I should say, want this investigation. And then there was another article a couple of days later, him talking about doing his own investigation into the unmasking of names. And he wanted to call 3 names. He wanted to call Samantha Powers, Susan Rice, and John Brennan, the former CIA director. And then you have this ongoing onslaught. Whether or not they're paid demonstrators, they're Democrats, they want the town hall meetings. In fact, in one article, they put up a cardboard cutout of Devin Nunes. Did he mention any of the onslaught coming from the other side, or is he ignoring it, do you think?
He is not ignoring it. He knows it's there. He takes issue when we call them protests, especially if it's smaller protests or smaller gatherings, a dozen, 20 people outside of his offices, whether they're in Clovis or elsewhere. He says, listen, these people, he says some of them aren't even his constituents. I've heard the accusations that from many of them that they are paid. I don't know if they have,
we just don't know enough about them.
But he says, listen, these are people who are never going to vote for me. They're not going to vote for me. They're just wanting to complain. It's a small group. Don't call it a protest. So he takes issue with that. I don't know what other words there are. You know, a 4-person protest is still a protest, but I take his point. He does think that this Mueller investigation, and he said it there, it's just so that they can, because these things take forever. The Lewinsky,
could take 2 or 3 years.
The Lewinsky thing, the Lewinsky-Clinton thing, I mean, that took, 2.5 years, 3 years? I mean, these are long, and it keeps the name in the news. And so he's like...
Even Watergate took a long time.
Yeah, a really long time. And so he knows the politics that are involved with this, and he thinks it's wrong. So, but I don't know if he's ignoring it. I think he chooses to listen more to what to the viewpoints that he tends to agree with.
I want to put up a picture of Kevin McCarthy. He is the representative, of course, a Republican from Bakersfield. There he is right there. He obviously voted for the Health Care Act. So did Devin Nunes mention any of his counterparts on the Republican side, like Kevin McCarthy? Let's put up David Valadao. Of course, from this area as well. There's David Valadao. Valadao receiving a challenge, I guess, from Emilio Huerta, a man that he beat in November. Let's put up, there's his picture right there. Kind of a funny photo right there. Caricature, of course, of Donald Trump. Did he mention any of his counterparts, or even, people that might be running against some of his his counterparts.
He didn't mention Emilio Huerta or anything like that, who, by the way, I spoke to Emilio Huerta on Friday, and you'll see that interview on this upcoming Sunday Morning Matters this week.
Okay.
He didn't mention too much. I mean, when he talked about water legislation, he said Kevin McCarthy is working with David Valadao and myself, and we're trying to do stuff.
Right.
But when it comes to the healthcare thing, they all ended up on the same page. There was questions of whether or not Valadao would vote yes on that healthcare bill. But when I spoke to Valadao on my program, he was also optimistic about it. This was before the CBO score came out, but he said, really, in the end, he thinks that it's all going to add up, and it's going to be a vast improvement to the current system that we have right now.
Now, Huerta, do you give him much of a shot, or does anybody, not you personally, but anybody give him a shot at beating Valadao?
Here's the good news for Emilio Huerta. The demographics, where it comes to Democrats versus Republicans and the voter registration numbers, those have not necessarily gotten any better for Republicans. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, there is a double-digit voter registration edge for Democrats in that district. That's the good news for Huerta. The bad news is that he lost by 13 points in November, and that was in a presidential election in which turnout was high.
Yeah.
We're going into a midterm. Who does not tend to show up in midterm elections historically? Democrats. And he's going to need a lot of Democratic votes. And so a lot of people, I think, would give Valadao the edge right here. I mean, and Valadao also has a proven record of winning elections. Hillary Clinton won that district. Valadao won by 13 points.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, think about that. And so
And
Huerta,
typically Democrats don't show up, huh?
exactly at the midterms. It's been abysmal. Now that was with Barack Obama in the White House, so maybe with a Republican in the White House, that turns the tide a little bit, and it's the Democrats who are fired up and angry at the midterms.
They're
and they
more
show
motivated, do you think?
Yeah, oh yeah. Somebody said that Roger Stone. There's a great Netflix documentary out right now called "Get Me Roger Stone." I highly recommend it. It's fascinating.
It's on Netflix now?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, Get Me Roger Stone. It's about the conservative. He's like an operative,
right,
and kind of dirty trickster. That's something that he likes that title, by the way. But he says hate is a bigger motivator than love in politics, and at some points I can almost see his point. So, but Huerta says, but Huerta thinks, listen, Hillary Clinton got a lot more votes than I did. So there are Democrats out there. I started too late last time. I didn't raise enough money. I didn't get around to enough people. He said, I'm starting super early this time in this challenge against Valadao. I'm going to raise more money. I'm going to get out. My message is going to get out to more people, and I'm going to focus more on the local issues. He spent so much time trying to tie Valadao to Trump. Think back to all the advertisements that they did, where he tried to put them in the same boat, where Valadao, on his side had been very hesitant. He would not, he didn't endorse the president. And so that was tough to do. He says, this time I'm going to focus more on how Valadao's vote for health care, how that's going to affect our constituents. He said, I'm going to focus more on local issues. And he says, and that's going to be the key to me to succeed. Whether it's going to happen, we're going to find out. Caller,
go ahead. You're on the air.
Hey, Evan, let me ask you a direct question. Unless the Democrats get someone that can push to help, maybe 4 or 5 seats are available. I think if they had Bill Clinton and Michelle Obama go out and help them to raise money and talk for them and all that, they will do the job to get these extra seats, okay? That's my own opinion without even knowing, the seats there. It could be close, But I think those two people, they have the people still care for them, And Michelle is a better talker than the President Obama,
Yeah, okay.
And, of course, Bill is always... he's always got I don't know why, but women followers and men and whatever. Right. But with his Clinton,
okay,
he would help the Democrats as well as Michelle to push this thing over the mountain. To say.
All right.
But,
so
what do you think?
Okay.
So Yeah, so should Emilio Huerta and Andrew Jans bring in Michelle Obama and Bill Clinton to help? Yes, if they can get them here,
If they can get them here.
I mean, it's Bill Clinton still has a huge draw, much more so than his wife, obviously.
But he didn't draw flies this past year when he came to Fresno State. You
Sure
remember
he
that?
did. What do you mean by that?
No,
you
he didn't draw that many people, though, because I was there.
Yeah.
And there was a small room.
Comparatively, yeah, it wasn't a Bernie Sanders
It
crowd,
wasn't a
it?
Bernie Sanders
Yeah.
type crowd, so
Yeah.
maybe they ought to get Bernie Sanders to come in, because Bernie Sanders he
that would
filled
also-
up the Paul Theater.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree or disagree with me on that. But
Well, I do agree, and I think Bernie Sanders still has a lot of power right now,
Yeah.
obviously, and
Yeah.
but we'll see how Michelle Obama is used. We'll see how willing she is to jump into any sort of politics. I would be willing to think that she would be, whether or not that means traveling across the country to go into all these different congressional races to campaign
That's
for
a big
people.
task.
That's a whole different ask. But yeah, if Michelle Obama, she was always very popular. There's some people who never liked her, but I don't really give much credence to it's.
Yeah, I just was a little surprised that Bill Clinton didn't draw more people compared to Bernie Sanders. His wife was at Edison High School. She drew a smaller crowd as well. And then, of course, you had Trump at Selland Arena. But Bill Clinton, you're right, is still enormously popular around the country. Forget Fresno.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He still is. He's
Yeah, he
a
still is.
wonderful speaker. He speaks off the cuff, ad lib, no prompter, flawless.
I mean, we'll see though what this Hillary Clinton loss in November, if that's going to do anything to tarnish that aura about Bill Clinton.
Right.
I wonder if that takes him down a peg or two, just because this is really.
Well, they could go out and say, look, my wife got screwed over.
Well, she's saying that plenty. And there's a lot of, she's facing a lot of criticism right now.
Right.
Saying, can you please take some accountability for not winning in November?
Wow.
Some? Can you take some? Because all I'm hearing is complaining about the FBI and WikiLeaks and
emails.
Yeah, and these decisions.
Private server.
Yeah, and so did those things have an effect? They could have.
Yeah.
But people are getting really frustrated with Hillary Clinton right now.
Of course, she didn't campaign in the Rust Belt states either, so did that hurt her?
You could have gone to Wisconsin. And I think the account is that Bill Clinton told his wife and her campaign team, you better go to Wisconsin and Michigan.
Didn't do
and
it.
then they were like, that's not what the data says. We're safe there. We're going to win by 3 points. And they didn't take Bill Clinton's advice, and who was right?
Didn't do it. Yeah. Hey, you might be wondering, sitting in your home, 436-ME-TV, option 11, call in and weigh in. We have an open phone line. Evan Onstot is here. He is a news anchor, okay? He's not a commentator. He's not an opinion guy, but we'll talk to him about his role there at KSEE 24 and Sunday Morning Matters, as well as the role of news anchors across the country. Scott Pelley, CBS News, out. That's right. All right. Back after this from Thomas Casagrande, 2020 Optometrics.
Not sure what you're watching? Want to see what's coming up next? Or just want to browse what's on without the hassle of flipping channels? Your wish has come true. Now you can view schedules for all the digital TV channels available in the Central Valley. Get local weather updates and forecasts, and listen to nationally syndicated Biz Talk Radio, all on KVHF 4.1. Rescan your TV now, then tune in to Digital Channel 4.1 to start enjoying the all-new TV Guide.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
Is the CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley. Today, we learned the length of the president's fuse, 28 days. It has been a busy day for presidential statements divorced from reality. Some of the problems Mr. Trump promised to solve last night don't actually exist. President Trump has been an inspiration to many, including many of his opponents. It seems like the common denominator of Mr. Trump's woes is the Constitution. Today, the president had another Twitter tantrum. Well, the president's real troubles, again today, were not with the media, but with the facts. This comes after a rough start to his presidency, a weekend of tweeting tantrums and falsehoods. President Trump drew an X today through the welcoming words of the nearby Statue of Liberty. As poignant as his salute to Ryan Owens was, Mr. Trump did not mention other Americans fighting overseas. Is it appropriate to ask whether the president is having difficulty with rationality?
It is crucial for journalism education to ensure a commitment to the truth, unbiased reporting.
Okay, the poignant question is, in your professional opinion, you've been in broadcasting for a while now, and you can explain the role of a traditional, and I see Scott Pelley as being a traditional news anchor, unbiased. Do you think that CBS News gave this opinion about ratings to force him out because of some of the comments he was making, like that last comment that you heard there, and the comment during the evening news broadcast saying divorced from reality? Was he too opinionated in his role there, do you think?
I don't think so. Those were hard questions. And those were at a time in which the president was saying one thing when the numbers looked like something else, or you know what I mean. And so
he was going by facts.
And that that montage too. I mean, that's taking a very hard look at everything. He asked hard questions of everybody.
No, he's a great reporter and
he's
a great anchor. I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm just wondering off the top of my head, was he a little too harsh in maybe the top brass?
I don't know.
I didn't like it.
I don't know of Les Moonves, at CBS. I don't know what his thought was.
Right.
What his thoughts were about it. I mean, clearly they still very much like him because they're keeping him on at 60 Minutes, which he excels at. I'm not sure though if any of those the political environment. I do think it just came down to numbers and ratings, and we're paying this guy a certain amount of money, and the numbers have been dropping a little bit. They did bounce up after Katie Couric a bit. But in the end, he was still a distant third place behind NBC and ABC. And CBS
they did shoot up a while when
did.
Bob Schieffer took over, I think, on the interim when Katie Couric was let go.
Yeah.
And then Pelley came in, and I don't know what happened after that.
And the ratings were still quite good.
Yeah.
When he came in, CBS was trying to do this thing, and I actually applauded them for it because they have such a strong news brand with 60 Minutes, and they're trying to tie those two together.
Right.
Original reporting, I think, is what they said, and it did have a 60 Minutes feel to it, that newscast. But in today's day and age, in which things move fast, people's attention spans are not what they maybe once were when it came to news consumption. Maybe that model just isn't working as well, and they'll, when you compare that to, say, ABC, World News Tonight, which moves at the pace of a bullet. When
lightning speed.
They don't spend any time. Their reporters, they toss out to the reporters. They say like 5 words, goes to the story, comes out. They say 5 more words, and it's back to David Muir in the studio. I mean, it moves very quick. I don't know what the model is for success anymore when it comes to evening programs.
I've lost touch with the reality.
They might go younger. They might go younger.
Maybe, but I know they weren't getting the demographics at 25 to 54. That went to NBC. It went to ABC. They're neck and neck. Although I thought overall, production-wise and in-depth of stories, CBS did the best job of all 3 networks.
They do a great job.
A fantastic job, and Scott Pelley is to be commended. He's really a solid newsman.
He really is.
And he asks tough questions.
Well, I worked in Lubbock, Texas before.
And you talked to him.
He's from Lubbock, Texas.
Okay.
He went to high school there, and he went to Texas Tech. Oh, super nice guy. So he came back, and he was actually back to do this thing with the journalism school there. And we grabbed him because I worked for the CBS affiliate in Lubbock. And so we grabbed him and we said, hey, could you shoot a promo with our news team? And he said, yeah, absolutely. So he came in, took some time. We shot a promo. And then I interviewed him, did a little one-on-one sit down. Just total genuine man. And,
what did he talk about? The news business in general, or what they were doing at CBS?
Yeah,
or?
I think he just is still counting his blessings.
Yeah.
You know, he came up and moved pretty quick to Dallas when he was still a very young man, and moved to the networks when he was still pretty young. You know, you work hard, and what got him there, that anchor job on CBS Evening News, that was his first anchor job.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. He wasn't a studio news anchor.
Yeah.
He was a reporter and a reporter out in the field. That's where he made his career. And so
But that's the old style of coming up the ladder, is being starting on the street and moving up as an anchor. Remember that?
Yeah.
A long time ago. Not now.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I don't know how it works anymore. So
You're right.
I really don't know. And
Yeah.
5 years from now, 10 years from now, what's it going to look like?
Yeah.
That is the big question.
Quickly, caller, we're short on time. What's your question?
Yeah, I think Scott Pelley did a wonderful job. He was, he asked those hard questions, and I think you saw the reporter in him come out a lot in how he was as an anchor. I think the other news networks, are do a lot of personal interest stories and that kind of thing, mostly fluff pieces. And I think CBS had a lot of hardcore questions that asked, things about political questions and so forth. If you don't ask those hard questions like you were hearing you guys doing so forth, you start sounding like Fox News or CNN, where with CNN everything that they say is a breaking news story, or Fox News, it's like it may not be as accurate as it could be, and so but I think Scott Pelley he was more in depth. He was kind of like I said, you saw that news anchor in him where he checked his sources three back. He made sure that the information he had was accurate. I think like Evan just said here, he doesn't know what it takes to be an anchor, and I think it depends upon how you look as an anchor now. I think it's more perception, more. I think if he was in Detroit, I think if he wore if he had a lunch bucket on his desk there on his days, and had a hard hat on, he'd probably be the anchor in Detroit, But I mean, so it's just a lot of perception, a lot of how you look. But I think news in America, I think is starting to slide away from the hard news area and more as to what is America liking to hear.
Well, okay, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. So that goes along with what I said earlier. Yeah. The younger look from David Muir. You mentioned quick pace, lightning speed, like a bullet. Is that what the caller's talking about?
I think so. Although let me try to downplay some of your concerns, because I think across the board we might be seeing some of the best reporting that we've seen in a long time. Because I think the times demand it, because you have to be right. And I know this is the era of fake news, but we've talked about this before. I don't believe in that. I think that can reporters be wrong sometimes? Can a source lie to them? Sure, but when you got 7, 8 sources backed up on a story. But for example, Lester Holt's recent interview with President Trump asked some very tough questions in there.
He did.
And so I think he's doing a great job. I think that NBC News has some incredible reporters that are working very hard. And so I think that here's the thing, there's so much other media right now.
Social media too.
And social media, but there are so many other sources where you are getting a lot of fluff. And so your Facebook timeline is being taken over, not by genuine news stories, but by the latest Kardashian or whatever it is nowadays.
Right.
And so there's a lot of information out there, and it's trying to parse down and get to the stuff that's actually relevant to you. That's difficult. It really is.
But you mentioned it just a minute ago. It's attention span too.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really interesting, and how news companies, where we see newspapers struggling, the Fresno Bee having to lay off a bunch of more people. That's coming down from corporate. That's not their local management making that decision. That's coming down from the guys that are the bean counters, and TV has the same problem. Local television, while people are still watching TV at a huge clip. How it's going to continue to be monetized when people are getting their news off of Facebook and off of Twitter and off of Snapchat.
You're walking down the street and you get your news from your phone.
Yeah,
that's it.
So how do companies monetize that? How does the industry continue to?
Let me ask you a quick question here. From what I've read, let's put up the photo of Scott Pelley, the CBS Evening News anchor from 2011 to the present. His ratings were dipping a little bit, so they say that's why they are making a change. There he is, right there. Your friend Scott Pelley.
Yeah, my friend.
Yeah, that's right.
We go way back.
You go way back. Hey, Lubbock, Texas. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, change it. Go to Anthony Mason. He will take over temporarily until they figure out what to do. Now, he is the anchor on CBS This Morning weekends,
Yes.
I believe.
Yes, he is.
And then he fills in occasionally on the morning show with Charlie Rose, and he also fills in occasionally on the CBS Evening News.
Yeah.
Well, how do you see him?
I mean, he's kind of one of those guys where I don't think if you showed his picture to 100 people, maybe one would know his name, maybe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he's great. He's
solid.
He's good at what he does. He's good at what he does. Does the person in that chair move the numbers? Move the needle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the other question I have is, because we're running short on time here, what is CBS going to do to replace Pele on a permanent basis to move that?
I don't know. I mean,
who is?
It could be
who's
him.
out there. Who's out there? I don't know. Pick a name.
Well, I'm under
Bill
contract.
O'Reilly.
I'm under contract, so I'm not available.
Evan Onstot.
Yeah,
Bill
no.
O'Reilly.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but they thought that Pele was going to move up in the ratings when Brian Williams had his problems and had to leave NBC. When ABC moved from Diane Sawyer to David Muir, CBS said, "Here's our opportunity." And what happened? Nothing changed.
Would CBS
people stuck with Lester Holt, who does a phenomenal job?
Do you think somebody at CBS secretly, underground, in like at 3 a.m, called Brian Williams at home and said, "Do you think you'd be interested in the job?"
Yes. No, I don't know. No, I doubt it. But yeah, let's just say yes, just to stir the pot.
Just to stir the pot a little bit.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know who's talking to who. But and nobody knows at this point who's going to fill that chair. Hey, we're running out of time. I got to put up the picture of Tiger Woods because he made so much news last night. Put up the photo, the arrest photo right there. Okay, I remember the video of Tiger Woods in 1997, Evan, of him walking down the 18th fairway at Augusta with his dad watching.
Yeah.
He won the Masters by what, 13, 14 shots or something, and now it's come to this. Oh man, we've seen this so many times over the course of time. There's the arrest photo there. He's handcuffed. He was under prescription drugs, 4 of them. Is this commonplace now in America, from what you've seen in the news industry with high-profile people like Tiger Woods? And I'm not criticizing Tiger Woods because I don't know exactly what happened, and neither are you, but is this commonplace?
Well, let me ask you this. Is it happening more now, or do we know about it more now because there's cameras everywhere, social media is everywhere, and news spreads faster?
Yeah.
Is there a bigger problem now, or does it just get into our phones more?
By the way,
so
roll the
we're more aware
videotape of Tiger Woods. If maybe a little bit of both.
Maybe. I mean, opioid problems, painkiller addiction, all that stuff. I mean, that is a major problem. And maybe what happens with Tiger is that this becomes another face of that. Why people need to pay attention to it.
Dash cam video, of course. From
Yeah, and I was driving down 41 the other day, and they write out those things in the big signs that can write out messages, on the billboards.
Okay.
And it said, DUI, not just alcohol, can be meds too. And it said that.
Yeah.
It said that. So, I mean, this is what we're seeing. It's not just alcohol. There's a new thing.
And marijuana too, next year when it becomes legalized. That's going to be an issue at City Council, whether or not to open these dispensaries. That was something on your show. We don't have time to delve into it. Maybe next time that you appear on the program.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens because we got what? 30 seconds left. Okay, coming up next week in 10 seconds, what do you have on the program, Sunday Morning Matters?
All right, so we got Emilio Huerta. I'm going to be out of town, actually. I'm going to be flying to Denver. I'm going to be watching the U.S. national soccer team play a World Cup qualifier.
Great.
I'm just splurging a little bit. And so we're going to have somebody fill in, and we'll have Emilio Huerta, and we'll have a great show otherwise.
Wonderful. Evan, come back again. Got to have you back.
John, thanks so much. I enjoy being here.
Okay.
All right,
Evan Onstot, Sunday Morning Matters, KSEE 24, 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 to 8:30. Glad you were with us today. Tomorrow, the president, CEO of WestCare, California, that place that helps those who have problems with drug addiction. See you tomorrow. Have a great day. 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
If you have a need to promote your business or event, please consider MeTV Fresno for your next campaign.